Frege has a theory of meaning, which I just want to discuss a little bit here, and also has to do with his compositionality thesis, and I want to discuss that with respect to indirect sense and indirect reference. So, if you read the Begriffsschrift, or if I think the main, I think all of his works do have some, linguistic philosophy that you can think about, whether it be his Grundlagen or the Begriffsschrift, or but mainly I would say read some of his articles, like Sense and Reference, and also having to do with, and also some of those other articles, the Thought, Analogical Inquiry, and some of those others too. But I guess I want to discuss like his theory of meaning, and the compositionality thesis, and also have something called his theory of indirect sense and indirect reference. So Frege avidly argues against psychologism. Psychologism, at least having to do with the philosophy of language, is that meaning is mental and has to do with our minds. Frege is entirely against that and thinks that meaning is a objective, abstract thing. That if you say something, if you say a sentence that is combined, it is put together by, it's basically putting predicates together with names and such, that makes senses, and whatever sentence you say has a distinct sense and a distinct reference, thus a definite meaning, or at least definite set of meanings, depending on how vague a certain name or predicate can be. But whatever you say has objective meaning to it. That's a lot. That's basically a lot of it. That's kind of what he thinks, that where meaning comes from. That there is objective truth. There's objective meaning. In a way, it's Platonic. That there is objective truth there, which gives objective meanings to things we say. And there is tone, which is stylistic variance, but we can have impact. We can change meanings a little bit by the way that we say things. Thus, force. His idea of force is that the way we say something, or whether we assert something within a sentence. A sentence can have content without the assertion as whether it is the case or not the case. You can also have the content plus put the assertion in. So the way you say something can change the meaning of it. But first you have meaning that is objective, and that gives meaning to what we say, and that's the way that we understand things, by some objective meaning and objective truth. And also, Frege has an idea of compositionality, that the meaning of the sense and reference of a sentence comes to be by the sense and references of the names and predicates that make the sentence up. So the building blocks of sentences, names and predicates, being put together causes the meaning, or the sense and reference of the sentence. So that's his whole thing. That's what he argues. Thus, the sense and reference of each component that is within the sentence causes directly the meaning of the whole thing. But then we have this whole thing of theory, his indirect sense and indirect reference. How this having to do with indirect contexts or intentional contexts, having to do with propositional attitude reports and indirect speech reports. Thus, what you're thinking about it, your propositional attitude report is how the attitude towards a proposition. Thus, we have the sentence, Galileo believed that the Earth moves. That's the thing that daily. This is the book I'm using for these videos. This is a great book. Just a little overview of some concepts in the philosophy of language. The sentence, Galileo said that the Earth moves. If you have the proposition the Earth moves, you have direct sense and direct reference. You have everything you need is right there. But when you said Galileo said, that changes things. So it has a different sense in the context that this different sense refers to the sentence's indirect reference. So the different sense that is here is a indirect sense. In the Earth moves has indirect sense and indirect reference. Its indirect reference is its ordinary sense. That is a sense in which the Earth moves has a direct context. Its indirect sense is a mode of presentation of its indirect reference. Galileo said that the Earth moves, that proposition is true if and only if the sense is referred to by the Earth moves in that sense. In that sentence is identical to the sense of the sentence that Galileo used to talk about the Earth. So I guess we could talk about this for a while. We could kind of discuss how this whole thing works. Mostly it's that we have a propositional attitude here, where we have the proposition Galileo said that the Earth moves, and according to Frege's compositionality thesis, everything contained within all the components of that, the sense and reference of each of those components, that coming together would give a certain sense and reference of the whole sentence. But there's a sense and there's a reference, not all of which comes from the components of that sentence. That's basically the whole point. That sentence, the sense and reference of that sentence doesn't entirely come from the components within. So for Frege, that does create a problem for the whole compositionality thing. Frege's solution is to claim the sentence "the Earth moves" does not have the same sense and reference in the Earth moves as it does in Galileo believed that the Earth moves, and the Earth moves occurs in a direct context. In Galileo believed that the Earth moves, it occurs in an indirect context. In the Earth moves, it has an ordinary sense and ordinary reference. However, in Galileo believed that the Earth moves, it does not. The sense and reference shifts by the addition of a propositional attitude. So there, in that case, even though he's saying that the sense and reference can shift by the addition of indirect sense reports or propositional attitude reports. Even in my, I guess that there's issue there because it's still, you still don't have everything contained within there that gives, the sense and reference that does result is not entirely composed of what is contained within. There's not, the sense of reference that does result isn't really entirely a result of the components. Still, Frege's solution faces a number of objections. Davidson said that Frege's solution has the absurd consequence that it would be impossible to learn a natural language such as English or Italian, in that given all these indirect sense of references and all this shifts and all that, it wouldn't be impossible to learn languages. So you could have clauses embedded in clauses and all this stuff where everything shifts. Frege's solution, the Earth moves, have a different sense as it occurs in the sentences where propositional attitude reports are inserted. It will still have other senses as it occurs in progressively more complex sentences. So as you have more complex sentences that this thing is embedded in, clauses embedded in clauses, you would have a very difficult thing here. So, I could go on and talk about this for a long time, because there are many people who have said what they're saying about this and how you could solve this issue, but I don't entirely agree with the whole compositionality thing. I don't agree with it. And in my opinion, I think that somebody like Alston or J.L. Austin or John Searle are more correct on how meaning occurs. In my opinion, that it's more of a speech act thing. So, if you think I messed something up or left something out, comment below. Let me know. Thank you.